The morning sky over New York City changed from blue to black in less than 5 minutes. Giant ships appeared without warning, each one bigger than the tallest buildings. They came in perfect formation, blocking out the sun like storm clouds. Made of metal and strange lights, Commander Jake Martinez was drinking his third cup of coffee when every alarm in NORD started screaming at once. The screens around him lit up with red warnings. Numbers and data flashed so fast that his eyes could barely follow them. His team rushed to their stations, but nobody needed to tell them what was happening. The readings were impossible to miss. "How many ships?" Jake asked, his voice steady despite the chaos around him. Lieutenant Amy Foster checked her screen twice before answering. 237 confirmed, sir. Maybe more behind the first wave. Captain Ben Rodriguez pulled up the visual feeds from satellites around the world. Every major city had the same problem: London, Tokyo, Paris, Moscow, Sydney. All covered by the same dark ships, all waiting. Size estimate? Jake asked. "The smallest ones are 3 miles long," Amy said. "The big ones are, well, we're not sure our sensors can measure them properly." Jake nodded and reached for his phone. This was way above his pay grade, but someone had to make the first call. As he dialed, he noticed something strange. His communications officer, Lisa Chun, was trying not to smile while looking at her personal tablet. "What's so funny, Chun?" Jake asked. Lisa looked up, embarrassed. "Sorry, sir. It's just, people are already making jokes about this online. Look at the timestamp on the first ship sightings." Jake checked his watch. April 1st. April Fool's Day. He almost laughed despite everything. "Sir?" Ben called from his station. "We're getting a transmission. It's coming from the big ship over Washington." The main screen flickered and changed. A creature appeared, standing tall and proud. It looked almost human, but not quite. Its skin was pale blue, and it had 4 arms instead of 2. Its eyes were completely black, and when it spoke, its voice was deep and commanding. "People of Earth," the creature began, "I am Admiral Kextara of the Zephyrian Empire. Your world has been chosen for integration into our great civilization. You have 72 hours to surrender your military forces and prepare for occupation. Resistance will be met with total destruction." The transmission showed images of other worlds. Cities turned to glass. Armies wiped out in seconds. Entire populations kneeling before Zephyrian forces. The message was clear: surrender or die. The screen went black. The command center was quiet for about 10 seconds. Then Jake's phone started ringing, and Amy's phone, and Ben's phone, and every other phone in the building. But while the military was trying to figure out what to do, the rest of humanity was already responding. And they were responding in a way that nobody, especially not the Zephyrians, expected. Lisa Chun was the first to notice. "Sir, you need to see this," she said, turning her tablet toward Jake. The screen showed a social media post with a picture of the alien ships. The caption read, "When you order a pizza and the delivery guy brings the whole restaurant." It had been shared 50,000 times in the past 10 minutes. Another post showed the same image with text that said, "Mom said to clean my room or else." I guess she wasn't kidding. And another, "Aliens arrive on April Fool's Day. Either this is the best prank ever, or these guys have terrible timing." Jake stared at the screen. "They're making jokes?" "That's not all," Lisa said, scrolling through more posts. "Look at this one." The post was a video of someone in New York, standing on a rooftop with one of the alien ships visible in the background. The person was doing a comedy routine. "So, these aliens show up with ships the size of cities," the comedian was saying, "and they want us to surrender in 72 hours. 72 hours? I can't even get a cable guy to show up in 72 hours. The video had been viewed 2 million times. "And this one," Lisa continued, showing another post. It was a meme with Admiral Kextara's face in the text. "When you practice your scary voice in the mirror, but Mom still tells you to take out the trash." Jake looked around the command center. His team was supposed to be preparing for war, but half of them were looking at their phones, trying not to laugh. Ben Rodriguez cleared his throat. "Sir, I'm getting reports from other bases. It's the same everywhere. People are, well, they're not panicking. What do you mean, not panicking? They're having parties. There are crowds gathering in every major city, taking pictures with the ships in the background. Street vendors are selling "I Survived the Invasion" t-shirts. The mayor of Los Angeles just announced that they are organizing a welcome committee. Jake rubbed his forehead. This was not how first contact was supposed to go according to any of the training manuals. Amy Foster looked up from her station. Sir, I'm monitoring alien communications. They're talking to each other and they sound ... confused. Confused how? They keep asking each other what the humans are doing. Apparently, this isn't the usual response they get when they invade a planet. Jake thought about the 47 worlds that Admiral Kexthara had probably conquered before. Earth, he imagined the fear, the desperate negotiations, the inevitable surrender. Then he looked at Lisa's tablet again, where new memes were appearing every few seconds. One showed the alien fleet with the caption, "When you show up to the party, but everyone's already having more fun than you." Another was a picture of Admiral Kexthara with the text, "That moment when you realize your scary voice isn't as scary as you thought." Jake Martinez had been in the military for 20 years. He had planned for nuclear war, terrorist attacks, and natural disasters. But nobody had ever trained him for this. Nobody had ever told him what to do when humanity responded to an alien invasion by making jokes about it. Outside, the alien ships continued to hover in the sky, waiting for fear that never came. Instead, they got memes, comedy videos, and street parties. And somewhere in the back of his mind, Jake began to wonder if maybe, just maybe, humanity had found the one weapon that the mighty Zephyrian Empire was not prepared to face: laughter. President Carol Williams sat in the White House Situation Room, but the people around her were not who anyone would expect during an alien invasion. Instead of generals and military advisors, she had called in comedy writers from late-night television shows, social media influencers with millions of followers, and some of the internet's most creative pranksters. "Let me make sure I understand this correctly," said Danny Murphy, who wrote jokes for a popular TV show. "You want us to help you respond to an alien invasion?" "That's exactly what I want," President Williams replied. "Every military expert I've talked to says the same thing. We can't win a traditional war against these ships. Their technology is too advanced. But maybe we don't need to fight a traditional war." Sarah Kim, who had 20 million followers on social media, raised her hand. "What did you have in mind?" "I've been watching the public response," the president said. "People aren't afraid. They're making jokes. They're turning this into entertainment. Maybe that's our answer." Around the same time, Admiral Kexthara was having a very different kind of meeting aboard his flagship. The bridge was filled with confused Zephyrian officers who had never seen anything like Earth's response. "Explain this to me again, Admiral," Kexthara said to his chief strategist Vex Mora. "They're making jokes about us?" "Yes, Admiral. Instead of fear, they're creating what they call memes. They're sharing images of our ships with humorous text. Show me." Vex Mora activated a screen that displayed some of the most popular posts from Earth's internet. One showed the Zephyrian fleet with the words, "When you bring your whole family to McDonald's but they're out of chicken nuggets." Another showed Admiral Kexthara's face with the text, "Me trying to look tough when my mom calls me by my full name." The Admiral stared at the screen in silence. In 400 years of conquest, across 47 different worlds, he had never seen anything like this. "What is the psychological impact of this behavior?" he asked. "We're not sure, Admiral. Our models don't account for this kind of response. Fear is supposed to lead to submission. But these humans seem to be using humor to reduce fear instead of increasing it." Back on Earth, President Williams was approving the most unusual military strategy in human history. The plan was so ridiculous that it just might work. "We're going to respond to their surrender demand with an official diplomatic message," she announced, but not a normal one. The message was written entirely in haikus, the traditional Japanese poetry form. It read, "Big ships in the sky, Earth says hello with a smile, want some pizza, friends?" Weapons look scary, but do you know how to dance? We can teach you how. 72 hours? To surrender our planet, how about we chat? The diplomatic note was sent through official channels to every major news network and directly to the alien ships. But that was just the beginning. Within hours, Times Square was filled with thousands of people, all following instructions they had received through social media. They were performing synchronized dance moves that, when viewed from above, spelled out, "We come in peace," in letters large enough to be seen from orbit. The performance was being live-streamed, not just on Earth, but across the galaxy through intercepted communication channels. Captain Sam Peterson, working with his team of hackers and programmers, had been busy. "Tell me you got into their system," Sam said to his tech specialist, Mary Kim. "Better than that," Mary replied. "We're not just in their system. We're broadcasting through it. Every ship in their fleet, every planet in their empire, they're all watching our little dance party." Ryan Cooper, the team systems analyst, was monitoring the alien communications. "You should hear them talking to each other." "They have no idea what's happening," Sam smiled. Phase 1 is complete. Now we move to Phase 2. The alien psychological warfare experts were completely lost. They had spent centuries perfecting techniques to break the will of conquered species. They used fear, intimidation, and displays of overwhelming power. But none of their methods worked on a species that responded to death threats with dance parties. "They're celebrating," Vexmora reported to Admiral Kexthara. "Their cities are having festivals. They're selling food and drinks to crowds of people who came to look at our ships." "Celebrating what?" "As far as we can tell, they're celebrating our arrival. They're treating this like some kind of holiday." Admiral Kexthara looked at the reports coming in from Earth. Street vendors were making fortunes, selling alien-themed merchandise. Restaurants were offering invasion-special meals. Hotels were advertising alien invasion packages for tourists who wanted to get a better view of the ships. "And the governments?" he asked. "The human governments are responding to our demands through official channels, but not in any way we've seen before. They're using something called humor in their diplomatic communications." The Admiral read the haiku message again. He had conquered worlds where the leaders begged for mercy. He had received desperate offers of tribute and submission. But he had never received poetry that invited him to eat pizza and learn to dance. "What do our tactical analysts say about this strategy?" he asked. "They don't understand it either, Admiral. This appears to be completely outside their military doctrine. They're not mobilizing their armed forces. They're not building defenses. They're not even hiding their important leaders and resources. Then what are they doing? They're making more jokes, sir." Meanwhile, news crews from around the world were treating the invasion like the biggest story of the century, but not in the way anyone expected. Instead of panic and fear, they were covering it like a strange new form of entertainment. "This is Linda Johnson reporting from Central Park," a news anchor said into her camera, with one of the alien ships clearly visible in the background. "Where crowds of New Yorkers have gathered to get a closer look at our unexpected visitors. The mood here is festive, almost like a street fair. Behind me you can see people taking selfies with the alien ship." The camera panned to show families having picnics, children playing, and couples posing for photos with the massive alien vessel hovering overhead. "We're joined now by local resident Mike Thompson," the reporter continued. "Mike, what's your reaction to having an alien invasion fleet in your neighborhood?" Mike grinned at the camera. "Well, Linda, I've got to say, this is the most interesting thing that's happened in Manhattan since the last time the Yankees won the World Series. My kids are having a blast, and honestly, if these aliens wanted to hurt us, they probably would have done it by now." Admiral Kexthara watched this broadcast with growing confusion. The humans were treating his mighty fleet like tourist attractions. They were having parties under the shadows of ships that could destroy their cities in seconds. For the first time in 4 centuries of conquest, Admiral Kexthara began to wonder if the Zephyrian Empire had finally met a species they didn't know how to defeat. Admiral Kexthara had enough. 2 days had passed since the surrender deadline, and the humans were still making jokes. It was time to show them what real power looked like. He called his weapons officer to the bridge. Target the military installation. In their Nevada desert, he ordered. The one they call Area 51, we will destroy it completely. That should end their celebration. The weapons officer nodded. Yes, Admiral. Shall we warn the surrounding area first? No, let them see what happens when they mock the Zephyrian Empire. What Admiral Kexthara didn't know was that humans had been listening to every word he said. Dr. Alex Turner, Earth's best expert on alien languages, was sitting in a secret government facility with communications expert Beth Anderson. They had been monitoring alien communications for weeks. They're going to hit the Nevada base in 30 minutes, Alex said, taking off his headphones. Same as always, they discussed it like they were ordering lunch. Beth shook her head. I still can't believe they broadcast their plans on the same frequency as pizza delivery apps. Don't they have any security? Apparently not. They've been conquering worlds for so long that they never thought anyone would be listening in on their conversations. Alex picked up his phone and called Jake Martinez at NORAD. Jake, it's Alex. They're going to hit the Nevada base in 30 minutes. Is everything ready? Everything's ready, Jake replied. This is either going to be the greatest prank in human history or the last thing we ever do. The Nevada base had been abandoned for 3 years, but it wasn't empty now. Teams of engineers, special effects experts, and pyrotechnicians had been working around the clock to prepare for this moment. The base was now filled with confetti cannons, holographic projectors, and the biggest sound system ever built. Captain Sam Peterson was coordinating from a safe distance with his team. Mary, are the holograms ready? Ready and tested, Mary, Kim replied. The moment their weapon hits, we'll have the biggest birthday cake in history. What about the fireworks? Ryan has been working on those all night, Mary said. We've got enough pyrotechnics to light up half the state. Ryan Cooper looked up from his computer. Not just any fireworks. These are synchronized with the music. When that death ray hits, we're going to put on a show that'll be visible from orbit. Around the world, television networks were preparing for live coverage. But this wasn't the usual disaster reporting. Comedy writers had been brought in to provide commentary. The biggest comedians on Earth were ready to broadcast their reactions to the alien attack. This is it, folks, announced comedian Pete Davis on the World Entertainment Network. The aliens are about to show us their scary space weapons. Let's see if they're as impressive as they think they are. His co-host, Susan Lee, was sitting next to him with a bowl of popcorn. I've got to say, Pete, if you're going to get vaporized by aliens, at least it's happening on live television. Think of the ratings. Admiral Kexthara watched the target area through his ship's sensors. The base looked empty and defenseless. Perfect. He would destroy it completely, and the humans would finally understand that their jokes could not protect them. Fire, he commanded. The death ray shot down from the flagship, bright enough to be seen from space. It was a weapon that could turn mountains into glass, that had destroyed the capitals of 47 worlds. When it hit the Nevada base, the explosion should have been visible from 3 states away. Instead, something impossible happened. The moment the death ray touched the base, fireworks erupted in every direction. Not just a few fireworks, but thousands of them, all perfectly timed and synchronized. The explosions formed patterns in the sky, spelling out words in 12 different languages. But that wasn't the strangest part. As the fireworks filled the air, the base itself began to change. Holographic projectors activated, and the entire military installation transformed into a giant birthday cake. A birthday cake 3 miles wide, with candles that sparkled and danced in the desert wind. The sound system kicked in, playing Happy Birthday in a version that had been specially arranged by the London Symphony Orchestra. The music was so loud that it could be heard in Las Vegas, 60 miles away. Happy Independence Day appeared in the sky, written in letters made of fireworks and light. The message was displayed in English, Spanish, French, Chinese, Arabic, Russian, and even Zephyrian. Pete Davis was laughing so hard he could barely speak into his microphone. Ladies and gentlemen, the aliens just threw us a birthday party. Look at that cake, it's beautiful. Susan Lee was clapping her hands. I love the candles. Those are some serious special effects. Hollywood, take notes. The celebration wasn't limited to Nevada. Cities around the world launched their own fireworks displays the moment the alien weapon fired. It was like New Year's Eve, 4th of July, and every other holiday rolled into one massive party on the International Space Station. Astronauts Kelly Brown and Joe Martinez were performing zero-gravity comedy routines while Earth exploded in color below them. Their performance was being broadcast live to every television network on the planet. "This is Space Station Comedy Hour," Kelly announced, floating upside down while juggling space food, "where we bring you the best in low-gravity entertainment." While our planet gets the galaxy's most expensive fireworks show, Admiral Kexthara stared at his screens in complete silence. His most powerful weapon had been turned into a celebration. The humans had somehow known exactly where he would strike and had prepared for it. "But how?" "Admiral," his communications officer called out nervously, "we're receiving a message from Earth." "Put it on screen." President Williams appeared, but she wasn't alone. She was surrounded by children holding balloons and signs that read, "Thank you for the fireworks and best birthday party ever." "Admiral Kexthara," she said with a smile. "Thank you for the wonderful celebration. The cake was a nice touch, though next time you might want to ask what flavor we prefer. We're more of a chocolate planet than vanilla." But behind her, the children started singing "Happy Birthday" while holding up drawings they had made of the alien. Ships with smiley faces drawn on them. Admiral Kexthara turned to his intelligence officer. "How did they know where we would strike?" "We're not sure, Admiral, but we're getting reports from our other ships. The humans seem to know about all our planned operations." "That's impossible. Our communications are secure." "Actually, sir," his technical officer said quietly, "I've been monitoring their broadcasts. They've been playing recordings of our conversations. They seem to have been listening to us since we arrived." Admiral Kexthara felt something he hadn't experienced in 4 centuries of conquest: embarrassment. Not only had the humans turned his demonstration of power into a party, but they had been listening to his private conversations the entire time. "How long have they been intercepting our communications?" "Based on their jokes, sir, probably since the first day." The Admiral looked at the screens showing Earth celebration. Every major city was having a festival. The humans were dancing in the streets, launching fireworks, and celebrating the fact that they had just been attacked by the most powerful fleet in the galaxy. And somewhere in the back of his mind, Admiral Kexthara began to realize that he might be in serious trouble. Admiral Kexthara was getting angry. The birthday party incident had been watched by every species in the galaxy. His mighty fleet had been turned into a joke, and now other worlds were starting to ask questions about Zephyrian power. "We need to take direct action," he told his war council. "Send intimidation probes to their major cities. Let them see our soldiers up close. That will end their celebration." General Nexther, the Empire's chief military strategist, nodded. "We'll send probes to 10 cities simultaneously. When they see our warriors face to face, they'll understand this is not a game." The first probe landed in London at exactly noon. It was a sleek, black ship about the size of a school bus, designed to look as threatening as possible. The probe's door opened with a dramatic hiss, and 3 Zephyrian soldiers stepped out in full battle armor. What they found waiting for them was not what they expected. A marching band was playing welcome music. The mayor of London was there with a big ribbon for a ribbon-cutting ceremony. News crews were broadcasting live, and about 50 children from local schools were holding signs that read, "Welcome to Earth, and we hope you like tea." Hello?" the mayor said, stepping forward with a smile. "Welcome to London. I'm Mayor Patricia Wilson. We've prepared a small welcome ceremony for you. Would you like to cut the ribbon?" The Zephyrian soldiers looked at each other through their helmet visors. Their training had prepared them for armed resistance, desperate negotiations, and terrified surrender. Nobody had mentioned ribbon-cutting ceremonies. "We are here to demonstrate the might of the Zephyrian Empire," the lead soldier said in broken English. "Oh, how wonderful," Mayor Wilson replied. "Would you like to demonstrate it before or after the tea service?" We have cucumber sandwiches. Similar scenes were playing out in cities around the world. In Tokyo, the probe landed in the middle of a festival that had been organized specifically for their arrival. Japanese families were having picnics and taking photos. Children were asking the aliens to sign autographs. In Paris, the probe was met by a group of street artists who had prepared a special performance. They performed a dance that told the story of the invasion, but made it look like a romantic comedy, where the aliens and humans fall in love and get married. But the most interesting response came from New York City. Captain Dan Walsh, who was coordinating the civilian response, had worked with Mayor Sue Phillips to organize something special. The probe landed in Central Park, and immediately a crowd of New Yorkers surrounded it. But these weren't just any New Yorkers. These were reporters, food critics, and tourism experts. "This is Channel 7 News," announced reporter Linda Johnson. "We're here with the arrival of our alien visitors. Sir, can you tell us about your home planet? Our viewers are very interested." In interplanetary travel? The Zephyrian soldier tried to look intimidating. "We are warriors of the mighty Zephyrian Empire. We have conquered 47 worlds. 47 worlds? Linda repeated. That's very impressive. What's the food? Like on those worlds? Are you planning to try any Earth cuisine while you're here? Before the soldier could answer, a hot dog vendor named Tony Marconi pushed through the crowd. Hey, you guys look hungry. You want to try a New York hot dog? Best in the galaxy, guaranteed? The soldiers stood there in their battle armor, holding weapons that could level buildings, while a cheerful man in an apron offered them lunch. I don't think they eat hot dogs, Tony, Mayor Phillips said. Maybe they're vegetarians. Do you have any veggie dogs? Sure do, Tony replied. Got mustard, ketchup, whatever they want. By evening, the situation had become even more surreal. The intimidation probes had become the centerpiece of impromptu street festivals. Hotels were advertising alien encounter packages for tourists who wanted to see the visitors up close. Street vendors were making fortunes selling alien-themed food and souvenirs. In Las Vegas, the probe had landed right on the Strip, and the casinos were treating it like the biggest attraction in town. The aliens were offered free drinks, show tickets, and gambling lessons. This is not working, General Nexler reported to Admiral Kextara. Our soldiers are being treated like tourist attractions. The humans are asking them questions about their personal lives and offering them food. What kind of questions? They want to know if we have families, what we do for fun, and whether we've ever been to Disney World. Admiral Kextara felt a headache coming on. Disney World? It's an entertainment facility, Admiral. The humans keep recommending it to our soldiers. Back on Earth, the situation was getting even more unusual. Dr. Alex Turner and Beth Anderson had been monitoring the alien communications all day, and what they heard was fascinating. They're talking to each other like confused tourists, Beth said. Listen to this conversation between two soldiers in the Paris probe. She played the recording. Two Zephyrian voices could be heard talking to each other in their own language, but the translation was displayed on screen. These humans keep giving us flowers. The children drew pictures of us. Look, this one shows us playing with them in a park. I don't understand. Are we supposed to conquer them or become their friends? I think they want us to try something called ice cream. What's ice cream? Alex laughed. Their soldiers have no idea what's happening. They're trained for war, not for street festivals and friendly conversations. The breaking point came when General Nexler decided to land personally in Central Park. He was the Empire's most experienced military commander, a veteran of dozens of conquests. If anyone could intimidate the humans, it would be him. His personal shuttle landed with great ceremony. Smoke poured from the engines, and dramatic music played from the ship's speakers. The general stepped out in his finest battle armor, holding a weapon that could cut through steel. The crowd that had gathered included news crews, city officials, and hundreds of curious New Yorkers. But the first person to approach him was an 8-year-old girl named Emma Rodriguez. Are you the alien general? She asked, looking up at him with wide eyes. I am General Nexler of the Zephyrian Empire, he said in his most commanding voice. I have come to demonstrate our superior military might, Emma nodded seriously. That's really cool. My dad's in the army, too. Do you want to see the drawing I made of your spaceship? She held up a piece of paper with a crayon drawing of the Zephyrian fleet. The ships were colored purple and pink, and they had smiling faces drawn on them. General Nextler stared at the drawing. In 400 years of military service, he had never been given artwork by a conquered species. It's very nice, he said, not knowing what else to say. You can keep it, Emma said. I made it for you? A news reporter stepped forward. General, this is fascinating. Can you tell us about your military training? What's it like commanding a space fleet? Another reporter joined in. Are you planning to stay long? The city would love to organize a parade in your honor. General Nextler looked around at the crowd. These people weren't afraid of him. They were curious about him. They were treating him like a celebrity who had come to visit their city. He began, then stopped. I need to make a report to my admiral. As he walked back to his shuttle, carrying Emma's drawing, General Nextler realized something that would have been impossible just a few days earlier. He was starting to like these humans. And that terrified him more than any weapon ever could. The invasion was not going according to plan. Admiral Kexthara sat alone in his command chamber, staring at reports from across the galaxy. What he was reading made his blood run cold, but not because of any weapon or military threat. The reports were about laughter. Admiral, his intelligence officer entered nervously. We have a problem, a big problem. Show me, Kexthara said, though he was afraid he already knew what he would see, the main screen filled with news broadcasts from across the Zephyrian Empire. On the planet Vex Prime, crowds were gathering in the streets, holding signs with jokes written on them. On Mordax 7, citizens were performing synchronized dances like the humans had done. On the mining world of Krell, workers were refusing to return to their jobs unless their overseers agreed to participate in what they called comedy competitions. It's happening on every world we control, the intelligence officer said. They've all been watching the human broadcasts. They're copying everything the humans do. Admiral Kexthara watched in horror as his empire began to crumble, not from weapons or rebellion, but from something much more dangerous. Hope. The humans had shown the galaxy that the mighty Zephyrian Empire could be made to look foolish, and now everyone wanted to try it. On the screen, he saw a news report from the planet Zorba. The reporter was a member of a species that had been conquered 50 years ago. This is Kelks reporting from the capital city, the alien reporter said, where citizens have organized what they're calling a humor festival inspired by the humans of Earth. Let's talk to some of the participants. The camera showed a crowd of aliens wearing flowers in their hair and carrying balloons. One of them, a creature that looked like a walking tree, spoke into the microphone. The humans showed us that there's another way to respond to power, the tree-like being said. Instead of fear, we can choose laughter. Instead of submission, we can choose joy. Admiral Kexthara turned off the screen. This was worse than any military defeat. The humans hadn't just defended themselves. They had infected the entire galaxy with their strange ideas about humor and happiness. Sir, his communications officer called, we're receiving a transmission from Earth. It's their president again. Put her on screen. President Williams appeared, but this time she wasn't alone. She was standing with representatives from dozens of Earth's countries, and behind them was a crowd of people from all over the world. But what caught the Admiral's attention was that some of the people in the crowd weren't human. Admiral Kexthara, President Williams said, I think it's time we had a serious talk. As you can see, we've been joined by some friends from other worlds. They came here to see what all the excitement was about. The camera panned to show delegates from several planets that had been conquered by the Zephyrian Empire. They were all smiling and holding signs that read, Comedy saves the galaxy and laughter is universal. These representatives have traveled here to propose something, the president continued. A new kind of relationship between worlds. One based on friendship instead of fear, cooperation instead of conquest. Kim Taylor, who had been working with the communications team, stepped forward. Admiral, we've been broadcasting everything. That's happened here to every corner of the galaxy. Your Empire's subjects have seen that there's another way to live. They don't want to be afraid anymore. Paul Davis, the satellite technician, activated a display showing communication networks. Across the galaxy, we've established direct contact with resistance groups on 47 worlds. They're all asking the same question: how do we make our oppressors laugh instead of fear them? Admiral Kexthara realized the terrible truth. The humans hadn't just defended their planet. They had started a revolution that was spreading across his entire empire. And the weapon they had used was the one thing the Zephyrian military had no defense against: the idea that life could be fun instead of frightening. "What do you want?" he asked. "We want to offer you a choice," President Williams said. "You can try to stop this with force, but we both know how that will look to the galaxy. The mighty Zephyrian Empire, using weapons to stop comedy festivals and art shows. Or you can join us." "Join you?" "We're proposing an official cultural exchange program," she explained. "Your empire can claim that this was all planned from the beginning. That you came to Earth not to conquer us, but to introduce yourselves to new friends. You can be the empire that brought laughter to the galaxy instead of the empire that got defeated by jokes." Jake Martinez stepped forward. "Admiral, your people are good at organizing and managing large operations. We're good at making people happy. Imagine what we could accomplish together." Admiral Kexthara looked at his own officers. For the first time in 4 centuries, they weren't showing him the respect that came from fear. They were looking at him with something else: hope. Even his own soldiers were tired of being feared and hated across the galaxy. "And if I refuse?" "Then you'll spend the rest of your career trying to stop comedy shows with death rays, President," Williams said. "And we'll keep broadcasting every failed attempt to the entire galaxy." General Nexther, who had been listening from his ship in orbit, opened a communication channel. "Admiral, I recommend we accept their proposal. I've spent the last 3 days talking to humans, and I've learned more about leadership than I did in 50 years of conquest." "What do you mean?" "They respect their leaders because their leaders serve them, not because they fear them. Their soldiers fight harder because they believe in what they're protecting, not because they're afraid of punishment. Their whole society works better than ours, Admiral." Admiral Kexthara thought about his options. He could escalate, use more powerful weapons, try to crush this rebellion with overwhelming force. But even if he succeeded, the galaxy would always remember that humans had made the Zephyrian Empire look foolish. His reputation was already damaged beyond repair. Or he could do something that no Zephyrian admiral had ever done before. He could admit that maybe there was a better way. "Very well," he said finally. "We accept your proposal. The Zephyrian Empire officially recognizes Earth as our first cultural exchange partner." The celebration that followed was broadcast across the galaxy, humans and aliens dancing together in the streets, Zephyrian soldiers learning to play Earth music, children from dozens of worlds drawing pictures together and sharing candy. 6 months later, Jake Martinez, now Director of Interstellar Relations, was reading reports from across the galaxy. Comedy festivals were replacing military parades on 47 worlds. Art schools were opening where weapons factories used to be. The Zephyrian Empire still existed, but it was completely different. Instead of spreading fear, it was spreading laughter. "Any word from Admiral Kexthara?" Jake asked his assistant. "He's on the comedy tour circuit now," Amy Foster replied. "His show From Admiral to Amateur is very popular. He tells jokes about how humans defeated his entire fleet with memes and birthday cake." Jake smiled. The galaxy had become a much more interesting place. And it all started because humanity had decided to respond to an invasion with a punchline. The universe was still a dangerous place, but now it was also a funnier place. And sometimes Jake thought that made all the difference.